This review will be for Nicolas Refn's Only God Forgives. I'm only going to say this once and get it right out of the way. I seen Drive like everyone else. I love Drive like just about everyone else. But if you're expecting that type of movie out of this, you kind of set yourself up for disappointment or to be surprised at what you got, because this movie is more like his earlier films. A lot of his shots are experimental. All of his characters are kind of quiet, and it's more him. This is a very experimental visual movie, and Drive, while it was like that too, still had a lot of things that he doesn't normally do, and that's why I loved it so much. His other films, while I like them, I've never loved any of his films, unlike Drive. And so I just wanted to get that out of the way so I can actually jump into my review for Only God Forgives, which follows Ryan Gosling playing a character named Julian, who runs a drug smuggling operation through a boxing arena. And after his brother dies, he decides to seek vengeance against the cop he feels responsible for, and in the process, now here's a story of cat and mouse between Ryan Gosling's character Julian and the cop's character named Chum. Now I understand that this movie was all about its visuals and plot. The plot moved through the storytelling. This review will be for Nicolas Refn's Only God Forgives. And I'm just going to say this to get it right out of the way. I too love Drive. I too enjoy Drive. But if you're expecting that out of this movie, then you just set yourself up to be surprised by what you got, or disappointed, because this movie is more like Nicolas Refn's earlier films than Drive was. Drive was actually kind of a departure for him, and more of a Hollywood-style film for him. And so you're not going to actually get that most of the time when he does a movie. And with Only God Forgives, he experiments a lot in this movie and makes it kind of like a just indie art house drug smuggling vengeance movie. And I understand that he tells his story mainly through visuals and character placement within the scene, but I felt like this movie's plot was just way too thin, and it didn't have the characters to support this type of filmmaking. I understand that he tries to tell this story, this backstory of Ryan Gosling seeking vengeance, or not vengeance, but he's seeking forgiveness for his sins, and that the cop is kind of like God essentially, and that's the character who he needs to earn his forgiveness. But I just don't like the way Refn told this story with his visuals, because the characters just weren't good enough to support a 90-minute movie with that. I understand that you want to have these quiet characters whose emotions and their characters are defined by the way they react in scenes, not necessarily through their dialogue, because they don't really talk that much, but through their actions. And I felt like a lot of it was empty and actually pointless. Pointless might be a bad word, but that's what I truly feel, is a lot of them, I understand what a lot of the scenes meant and what he was going for, but I understood them right away. You didn't need to go on for 5-6 minutes and extend the scene and overstay your welcome. And he just did that almost every scene, and it was so deliberate that it kind of annoyed me. And I get that he was trying to just visually experiment with this film, and I didn't buy and accept it, because I think he had something here. It's just he lingers way too much. And because of that, the film feels extremely long, even though it's 90 minutes. And a lot of these really good scenes end up falling apart because they just last too long. And the story he's telling isn't all that interesting, especially the way he tells it. And maybe if he would have focused more on actually building a background to these characters instead of making you put these small pieces and get an idea, the film would have worked out better. And then I heard that a lot of the complaints about this movie, ironically, is its violence, but I felt like the violence was actually the best part, because I actually did feel like there was depth to it, and they were acts of kind of forgiveness, and those were the judgment put upon these characters. But the thing is, I didn't think it was all that violent. A lot of the times the movie cuts away right before the deed is done, or it goes to the scene after it's already been done and shows the aftermath. And if you take other films in his repertoire, they're actually far more violent because they actually show the acts being done. And then the few times he does violence, they definitely overstay their welcome, and the scene lasts way too long, and it becomes way too repetitive for its own good, to where you actually don't enjoy it anymore because the scene's been going on for 7 minutes. And it's not like it's something that you've never seen before. Everything done in this movie, for the most part, has been done in countless other movies. So it's not that shocking, nor is it that gruesome, and that's kind of sad that I can say that, but in today's day and age, we see all type of shit, and it's nothing in this movie is all that special. I'll take Drive's head stomp over any of this all day. So that's my problems. And then with you have these characters. Ryan Gosling plays Julian, and he feels such an empty character. The difference between some of the character he played in Refn's last movie is that character actually had a motivation and stuff, and I didn't feel like I got that out of this movie, because he's always so quiet and so deliberate in his movements that I don't actually get to go inside his head all that much. And I would have wished I got inside his head much, because I felt like he was an interesting character that just they failed to explore all that much. I got that he killed it. I'm not going to go into spoiler character, but I got some of his past mistakes and why he was seeking forgiveness, and I didn't buy into it. And then you had Kristin Scott Thomas playing this basically racist, despicable character in his mother, and I felt like she was a little bit over the top, and she had nothing new to say into these scenes. I understood right away what kind of character she was, and he just kept hitting you upon the head about why she's evil, and she's the root of his problems and his family's whole problems. And it didn't click with me. And it's very disappointing, because this was a movie I wanted to enjoy, but my expectations were never that high to begin with, because, like I said, I've never really liked any of his previous... Not liked is a bad word, because I enjoyed Bronson and I enjoyed Valhalla Rising, but they weren't movies I loved. And so I just wanted to enjoy this movie, and what I got was this messy, metaphorical, artsy experiment that I felt like Refn failed in making. But, I mean, that's just my opinion. And for that, I give this movie a 2 out of 10. And it's really low, but I feel like it earned that grade. And a few changes, and it very well could have flipped for me, but a lot of the things it did just didn't work out, and overall it affected my opinion of the movie, and I just didn't like it. So yeah, if you like my review of Only God Forgives, put a thumbs up on this video and subscribe to my channel. And that's it for Only God Forgives. It's very disappointing to hear, and I'm sorry to tell you that it just wasn't that good of a movie. So until my next review, guys, see you later.